making me nervous. I hate being nervous. Throw a tomato at me or something.
Get ready.
Ooh, very nice. Good evening and welcome to Greenkill Gallery Presents Calling All Poets. This is our second live stream of 2021, but the first in the Biden-Harris era. So give ourselves a hand, give yourselves a hand out there. Give the new president a hand. Jesus, thank you. I know we're dealing with all the residual shit, but we'll get over that hump too. What we do here at Greenkill Presents for Calling All Poets is we trying to bring back live performance. So we have 3 live featured readers for you tonight, Bruce Weber, James Casey, and Leslie Gerber. They will entertain you for about 20, 25 minutes apiece, giving you their skewed vision of reality. And welcome to Calling All Poets. Welcome to Greenkill Gallery. This is the only place in the Hudson Valley where you're going to have this kind of stuff going on. And we're in stereo, man, so it doesn't get any better than that. So before I chatter away the whole hour and a half, let me introduce our first featured reader for the evening. Bruce Weber is the organizer of Perfect Pitch, the New Year's Day spoken word performance extravaganza. In addition to being a poet, he is an art historian, currently specializing in the historic Woodstock Art Colony. See learningwoodstockartcolony.com. Bruce's most recent book, and it is one hell of a great book, There Are Too Many Words in My House, Rogue Scholars Press 2019. It is always my pleasure, Mr. Bruce Weber.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, David. Thanks, the world. Thanks, President Biden. I'm going to read some new poems. I mean, they're this year's poems. I gathered them in an envelope and I read them, and I don't really understand where I am, but it usually takes time. But I decided to read new stuff, post-COVID, or not COVID stuff, not pre-COVID. And of course, not post-COVID. This is called Bella This. Mostly staying in, have done some free-thinking poems about the plague, some ever-so-slow walks down country roads, some stargazing even in daylight. Ate a squirrel last week, some ants this morning, trying to stay out of trouble, mostly keep the house entirely dark, even at midday or when the moon is full of mischief. Our cats are now fluent in Italian. Suddenly, in the middle of self-incarceration, they started saying, Bella this and Bella that. The vet is very confused, but I understand it. The world's gone kafooey, so why can't they become fluent in Italian? In any case, ciao. The Silver Screen, a poem for the movies. The light falling from the silver screen enveloped him in a glow, sure to startle the sleeping cat. He had succumbed to similar glows while watching Citizen Kane or Exodus or Duck Soup, but today he was carried away in the light to the studio lot where big green dreams grow as tall as King Kong or float across the screen like birds heading for Xanadu or the lost treasure of Sierra Madre, where swashbucklers search for gold doubloons and Busby Berkeley dancers gleam in a hard rainstorm, and the light flickers at 10,000 RPM a second, and life is like a movie played over and over till we get it right, and Humphrey Bogart lights up a stogie, and Al Pacino snuffs out a bad dream, and the French New Wave barters with Maria Braun, and Martin Scorsese gives it up for Little Miss Shirley Temple, and I join you for a drink on the terrace atop the Spanish Steps, and we sign a 7-picture deal and are carried away in the gleaming light of Hollywood and a record-smashing film starring Venus on the half-shell and her lover, Rudolph Valentino, and we throw popcorn at the screen and swallow satchels of gumdrops and recall Saturday afternoons at the movies as a kid, laughing till our stomachs caved in with glee, and Charlie Chan always found his man, and Cinderella discovered her Prince Charming at the end of the credits, where Greta Garbo's name shone brightly on the marquee, and all was right in life as in film. Those are pre-recorded claps. Another beautiful day in the pandemic. The bumblebees are fat with honey. The hummingbirds hover like helicopters in the sun. The chipmunks skirt across the grass like racing cars. The cat watches the shadows play in the field of the Lord. Another beautiful day in the pandemic. Cross my heart and hope to live. Grieve with me in the dark folds where memory plays out-of-tune tricks with Father Time, where losers grin and winners spend all the money they own, and dancing girls twirl in the hot complacency of the sun. Another beautiful day in the pandemic. The garden is dense with the perspiration of morning. Pinks whistle, reds purr, blues rustle, white shimmers like stars. I'll take you in my arms and do a do-si-do where the truth rushes in like a fool and trees stand tall against criminals, snatching alibis from the branches of despair. Another beautiful day in the pandemic. Let's meet at the gates of Eden, where fate is split like a rail and love is thrown into the wind like apple seeds, where clocks rust to oblivion and the morning rises into the clouds like a silent prayer for those who are lost. Another beautiful day in the pandemic. When? In the silence of this moment, when light throws fire on the pile and death winks like an old friend, and time sizzles like an overcooked soup, and the trapeze artist swims out into the lap of uncertainty, and the rambling man in the zoot suit falls down laughing, and Danny Boy is sung for 24 hours straight, and Sam breaks 2 eggs on the surface of the moon, and Gloria wheels Michael onto the floor of the terrarium, and Jamu stares into the narrow passageway between certainty and absolution. And Nancy skips to my Lou, my darling, and Stanley the cook browbeats himself in the dark, and Clancy dogs it all afternoon. I'll grab you by the collar and shake you up like a science experiment when you were 5. I'll dance on the head of a pin for 18 hours straight. I'll perform my card tricks for the Queen of Siam. I'll defy space and time in the slow drag of a minuet. Then we'll sit and bake a pie. We'll laugh like little demons in front of an endless supply of cash. We'll thread the difficult circumference of a needle and jump for joy. Deliverance. Deliverance. It's going to set fire to all you own and leave it there burning. That's what Aunt Lulu would say when she could sense the Grim Reaper in the room. Sometimes she'd pull out a broom and swat him with a wallop as mighty as a Mickey Mantle home run. Other times, she'd wait for grace to fall around her in a circular parade of amens and humble the congregation with a perfectly sung hymn that would assure Judgment Day was far off in the future. She loved the Lord no matter what was bubbling to the surface, and taking up too much of her time left here on earth. And when her husband departed, she mumbled the Lord's Prayer to keep herself warm. On the morning of her deliverance, she placed her cheek on the Bible, and the Spirit of the Lord kissed her back. The little feet. The little feet. The little feet scamper. The little feet scamper across. The little feet scamper across the. The little feet scamper across the birch. The little feet scamper across the birch wood. The little feet scamper across the birch wood floor. Listen to the soft footsteps fall across the birch wood floor. Press your ear to the birch wood floor. Press so close you can hear the creak rise, the sighs, the long exhalation. Listen to the heartbeat of the floor, the breaths of the floor, the gasps of the floor. Then come up for air. Breathe the universe deeply through your nostrils. So deep you fall under the spell of the birchwood floor, the little feet scampering across the birchwood floor. Somebody's playing ping pong, I think, in the back. Lost poem number 312. Lost poem number 312. That's what Sparrow always does. He always often reads the titles twice. So I picked that up from Sparrow. Third time. Lost poem number 312. Everyone's lost track of time and space. The shoe is on the wrong foot, and the moon is singing the blues. My Aunt Wilhelmina confessed to a star. My brother Winifred laughed at a croissant. My dog Giovanni waltzed into a mirror. I remember Lucille, the night her car zoomed down the highway and love dissolved like antacid in a glass. The memories set in my mind like a sapphire. Tomorrow I will race Father Time. I will fill in the cracks of endless days of folly and play and touch my nose while walking a straight line into the arms of faith and God and the law. The weight. The weight. The weight. The weight. The weight, he said, it's knocking me to the floor. It's waltzing crazy circles in front of my eyes. It's demanding a penance my soul can't pay. As he slipped into avoidance, looking down at his shoes, disappearing into a bad dream, feeling the pressure push him into a rut in the road. I used to feel invincible, he said, recalling the times in elementary school that he rose to the challenge of the big rope hanging from the gym ceiling, climbing it without flinching. Now I can't wake up clear-eyed in the morning, he said, drinking his third cup of coffee and hanging his head like a mule. Well, when is it going to get brighter here, he asked, slipping into the cathedral at 34th and Broadway, bathing his senses in the holy light of the day, then slipping out into the noise of jackhammers and screaming children and people at the edge of hope demanding coins. Maybe I should quit, he said, considering throwing in the towel of his life and joining the multitude living on the streets. At least I'll be on my own, he said, philosophizing himself into a corner and looking out into the street. Yeah, the street, he said. I'm moving to the street, he said. The street. Transparent poem. A glass, transparent, reflective, smudged by fingerprints and lipstick. A glass cool as ice, shy around curious fingers, assertive around loose grips, casual repartee. Academics analyzing its chemistry. The glass smashing a forehand at health, at youth, at certainties climbing to the roof, breathing fresh air, inhaling the blossoms of spring. A glass decorated by gazelles, galloping, prancing, circling, strutting into the day, with promise, with fortitude, with trust, breaking the seal on the ancient spell, laughing at the ludicrosies of history, of religion, of philosophy, sipping wine, leaning back, tipping over, shattering, splintering, shredding, disintegrating into the churning disposal, becoming zero, nothing, a flickering memory, a vaguely remembered thing, a glass holding the world in its sharp reflection, its stubborn silhouette, its rock hardness against the coming of the light, the coming of the light, a glass sitting, resting, pondering the blue sky, the ever-present sun, the meandering clouds, a glass lifted, drunk from, swallowed into the abyss of the stomach, the body's secret rivers, the ebb and flow of time. Whatever happened to Ken D? Now, Ken D was Ken DiMaggio. I doubt if anybody up here knows Ken DiMaggio, but he used to hang out for years at ABC No Rio, where I ran the readings for a long time. And so Ken disappeared, so I wrote this piece called Whatever Happened to Ken D? Whatever happened to Ken D? Did he vanish in smoke at the circus, go on search for androids in Machu Picchu, devoid himself of poetry and run guns in Costa Rica? Whatever happened to Ken D? Did he marry a suburban android girl and have loads of freckle-faced, out-of-this-world babies? Did Ken D go on fruitless search for the perfect line of poetry, upturning the rocks painted by the Hudson River School in quest of discovering the gold mine of love and money and adulation? Did Ken D bury himself in backyard Connecticut to get close to the inchworms and premonition of Judgment Day? Did Ken D go fly a kite in Central Park and get caught in tumult of wind, dragging him to East St. Louis? Did Ken bend the ear of Buddha till he got a free ride as sacred poet of Kyoto Temple, tending rocks in AM fogginess and free to dream in afternoon sun? Or did Ken D simply start walking across the world and never look back, continuing on infinite line round globe till satisfied he'd seen it all? If you see Ken D, please tell him to send us a photograph to pin up on our refrigerators so we can remember what he looks like. Please tell him to send an epic poem chronicling society's under-the-surface ailments. Please tell him to come back home. Ken D. Where is Ken D? Connecticut, probably. Divisive mathematics. He needed to go. When the afternoon was swept away with the tide, he laughed and gestured toward the moon. This was before the hyenas escaped from the zoo and giggling became contagious among 12-year-old girls. Before the war, we smiled all the time, but after the missiles struck, we moaned 24 hours a day. Misery was his middle name. It edged out author, which he never really liked. Sometimes you have to turn heads by wearing something bright and cheerful. Take this shoe or that shirt. Take this glove or that pair of pants, pack them carefully in a small suitcase, and cross the border to Canada without ever looking back. Today is the first day of my new life, she said, brushing back her hair and sipping cafe au lait. When I came to visit her, children sang an old vaudeville tune and grabbed onto my shoulders like Uncle Ben. Some days are worse than the rest. Otherwise, you'll find me standing here with a large basket of recently caught fish, juggling sea bass and fluke and mackerel before settling down to a hot bath and an appointment with a gypsy at the corner of Main and Vine. After today, I think it'll be safe to turn the corner and never look back. Search, search, search. In the turning of an eye and the flash of a bulletin, in the memory of a fallen leaf, in the turning gyre of a forgotten age, in the triumph of an unbroken dream, in the ruckus of a beating tambourine, in the bad behavior of an old tree limb, in the shadowy hour of a bright sunny day. I have looked for you everywhere, in the disheartening reach of a porous cloud, in the penetrating stare of a fallen house, in the abracadabra of mischievous fiends. Perhaps you are hiding in plain sight, lingering in the breeze of forgotten winds and the echoes of tumultuous chimes when day turns into a loud clashing of cymbals and stormy men with impossibly blue eyes beat down on tin cans singing the blues. In the harvest of the sugarcane and the wet lips of intoxicated men, I will draw you like metal to a magnet, enticing you with candy and pearls, with paradise and roses, and as blinding as the sun, awaiting the return of a king to this pulchritude of a weary room and the 7 cats who feed from the mouth of a storm. In the daring leap across the road, in the tender grip of astonishing clouds, in the warm atmosphere of apologetic shoes, I will take you in my hands and transform you into a flash of light moving full speed across the Milky Way. Sit and be still. Close your book and sing. Laugh till stars shine in the sky. Grin so wide your mouth swells to the size of kingdom come. Then sleep, my tired child. Sleep among the crying birds and the melting ice on their long journey home. In the strange lampoon of time, in the green pastures of memory, in the harmonies in the key of C, in the reach of impossible eyes, in the truth unfolding from this little song. I still have time, right? Okay. Discovery. It sounded so literal. The crashing of waves on the shore, the ringing of church bells on Sunday morn, the rhythm of fingers tapping a tune. I understood every grimace, every curse, every yowl of celebration flooding the house with its dusty roar. No dictionary of the blues was required, no extra heat on windy nights, no saxophone solos cascading rings of transcendence. I took its face in my hands. I looked deeply into its eyes. I shook its thorny head till daylight creeped under the door like a friendly interloper, till twilight looked into the stone-ravaged profile of the moon and cowed away like a frightened child. The room shook as a train ran through it in quest of clarity, definition, color, atmosphere, desire, as discovery coursed through its veins in quest of something decipherable, something plain as sand slipping through fingers, as shadows passing into absence on the dark side of the moon. P's and Q's. P's and Q's. P's and Q's. Sometimes you have to start anywhere and leave the results to fate. You move with the flow and adjust by instinct. So many years of practice can guarantee a sense of poise and potential. Take James over there practicing his P's and Q's, or Elmore leaning on his trumpet, or Marguerite lifting her brush to the canvas. We talk, we move, we shift positions in the dark and sultry weather or in the midst of a gale of wind, altering the tides, flattening wheels, rubbing two sticks together. Drum a symphony of growls on this rusty tin can, tinkle a desolate tune on these broken keys, flow along in perfect pitch, red running into green, yellow into blue, orange into purple, white into black. Couple more. The Eclipse. The Eclipse. He saw her standing in the dim light of the eclipse. He remembered her from nursery school, always running in circles. He wanted to dust her clothes, cheer her up with a score of ancient riddles. He settled in the crook of her arm. Desire ran through him like a shiver. He strummed the strings of the guitar. He glanced toward the shadows lining the path. He felt the earth quiver when the moon covered the sun, remembering the half-light of his childhood, the bruised bones, the loud screams, the silent nights alone in the dark. When the eclipse passed, the gypsy moths hovered in the air like thieves. Thanks. All right, I'll do two more. This is called Mr. Squirrel. Where are you going, Mr. Squirrel? Across the bushes to Galilee, down the arms of the crowd to Armageddon, on a loop around the garden to Innisfree? Are you traveling beyond the arch of this rainbow, beyond the brink of this imagining, beyond the burning wheel and the trees filled with cherries and dark secrets, among the misfits with trouble on their mind and 2 shakes of the witch doctor's bag of bones? Are you tumble-salting the Mojave Desert in search of paradise, glistening in the reflections of the hard rain, jumping towards salvation's silver cup, twisting in the curl of an angry wind, tossing horseshoes in quest of the stake of gold? Tell me, Mr. Squirrel, before the morning rains pans of gold, the afternoon collapses in the arms of the young girl, and blueberries slide down the mouth of a very hungry boy. And I'll end with this. It was the end of a long day. It was the end of a long day. The birds nestled in their nests. The ants settled into a deep sleep. The worms wiggled into the dark earth. Selma performed the butterfly stroke in the hotel pool. Jeremy exclaimed in front of the big circus tent. Georgia and Miguel danced on the head of a pin. When the wind subsided, she stood there coughing blood. Too many cigarettes and brandy Alexanders at the hotel bar. A juggernaut of unexplainable things disappearing on the other side of time. After the candles on God's birthday cake were lit, and Father Time told a few racy jokes, Eduardo stepped to the starting line. Norman shifted from right to left. Gary whistled his favorite Dylan song. Everyone fell asleep in each other's arms. I was greeted by the faraway look of 1,000 stars, and peace reigned in this fragile house of falling cards. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, David. Thanks,
Bruce
listeners.
Weber. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for coming by. Now that I think about it, with the 3 readers that we have tonight, we probably should have advertised this as Night of the Curmudgeon or something like that. But how about another hand for Bruce Weber, man? He's thank you, Bruce. Our next featured reader wants everyone to know he was vaccinated. So there you go. Leslie Gerber was born in Brooklyn in 1943 and graduated from Brooklyn College. He has been a book cataloger, owner of a mail-order classical record business, and a classical music DJ. He is still writing poetry and publishing classical music CDs. After his wife Tara McCarthy died in 2018, he published the book Losing Tara, An Alzheimer's Journey. He lives in Woodstock with his excellent dog Winnie, and visits in Kingston with his friend Barbara and his stepcat Poppy. Always a friend of mine, a man who gives me all my bootleg Randy Newman, Mr. Leslie Gerber.
Thank you, Mike. These days I read a lot from my most recent book, Losing Tara, An Alzheimer's Journey, and I will be doing that. But I wanted to start off with some more recent poems. And I'm going to begin with one of my very rare excursions into political poetry. It's called On the Defeat of a Champion. I have pissed into the dirt, mixed it with mud, and covered myself with it. I do not want to deal with the bad air my car makes. I just want everything to be all right. Let my children take care of themselves. We are not all one. We are us. The rest are others. They want to take what we sweat for. Our leader is angry like us, covered in mud. He despises everyone who is not like him, and he talks to me. Now he has lost. And it will be like before, people telling instead of listening. I will not be fooled. They will say they know better than me, but all they know is what they think. Hunger. Like you, I know that moment at the supermarket when the shopping cart is almost full and I've already had to pick up a couple of things that fell out, and I'm calculating if there will be enough room in the freezer for another box of Breyer's vanilla bean ice cream. The aisles ahead stretch on for miles, and I am thinking that if I put more into the freezer and buy more things that come in packages and cans, even though I know almost all of them are bad for me, at least I won't have to worry about what might spoil before I can finish it. That is not hunger. When I've already had my supper and I feel as though I've eaten enough, but there on the next block is the bright sign for Dallas hot wieners, so I stop on my way to where I need to go and cram 2 chili dogs down into my face with an incongruous Diet Coke to wash them down. Oxfam International is begging for the dollars I waste on buying more than I need so they can feed the hungry victims of Monsanto and Nestle, those whose lives are imperiled or ended by the corporations in pursuit of more billions raped from the earth. But I eat 2 more chili dogs and throw the change into a jar, my contribution towards ending world hunger. Here is my solution to this rancid problem: a worldwide chain of last food stores. Their neon signs glare just as brightly as the places that offer me poisonous junk, and I pay the same prices, but I get pictures of food to look at, like the hamburgers on TV. The money goes to Oxfam. Don't forget to tip the server. Recently, I've been writing a series of modern psalms, and this one is called Psalm of Confession. O Lord, to thee I freely confess my sins, that I may be absolved and go forth to sin no more. But wait, what's the point of giving up all my iniquitous ways if I can stay out until 5 in the morning drinking Guinness and coming on to lonely women, of making snide comments to people I'm superior to, of cheating on my income taxes, when all I have to do is confess and be forgiven? Worse yet, if I give up all my bad behavior, what am I going to write about? Nobody wants to read about the activities of a goody-goody. Memoirs of the righteous don't sell for shit. Even the shelves of religious bookstores are overflowing with tales of redemption from sin, recounted in gruesome detail. O Lord, I may even have to beg you to forgive me in advance today. My favorite band is playing tonight at a bar downtown, and I know I will see a little crowd of hot women turned on by the music and looking for some action. So tell me, Lord, would you have me beg you to deprive me of my sight? Or is it okay for me to react to what I see? Do I get a free pass for a night of drinking too much and twirling happily among naked thighs, as long as I promise to tell the whole ugly story infused with a proper degree of remorse? Thinking about that one. This next one is what I call one of my poems from sleep, which doesn't mean I write them when I'm asleep, and it doesn't mean that they're dreams. It means that they originate in dreamlike states, just as I'm falling asleep, waking up, sometimes waking up in the middle of the night with an idea in my head, and this is one of those. It's called Drinking with Mice. He drinks again with mice, falling off their tiny wagon onto the sloshy barroom floor. His leg hurts too badly for him to stand up. The mice scurry around him, leaping onto his face, weaving their way through his hair, poking their little noses into his ears, peeking into his empty pockets. He is not quite oblivious to these intrusions, but he is too far gone to care. He thinks of his wife, long gone, and now that he is on the floor again, never coming back. He has not seen the kids in years. This is how far he has fallen, victim of a recovery so fragile that a mouse-sized thimbleful of gin is enough to bring him crashing down. He drinks again with mice because they are the only ones who will allow them into their company. They find his humiliation puzzling and fascinating, his pain amusing. Every wince sets gales of laughter, every sob a round of applause. Someday, he thinks, someday I'll have the better of you all, caught in sticky traps, eaten alive by cats, dying of the plague you so delight in bringing to us. Meanwhile, my degradation only makes me more determined to survive, so I can be useful to others as a bad example, and so I can feel that ecstatic burn of gin slithering down my throat. The trees speak. The tangle of trees outside my window is a forest. If I try hard, I can see them as individuals, but my truth is that they meld into one collective noun. This is not how they regard themselves, though, no more than I consider myself population. I walk out among them and ask. The big oak in the foreground, who must have just escaped death when this house was built, regards herself as a scholar. I observe human behavior, she says. People are really crazy, but interesting. A dead birch is a breeding ground for insects and a student of birds. The bugs feed on me, he says faintly, being dead, and the birds feed on them. I am a naturalist. I know what blue jays do in the winter and in the summer. The trees are marvelous conversationalists. My species' perspective fascinates them. What are you thinking, one asks, when you cut us down? Do you acknowledge murder, or is it just another day at the office? I don't cut trees, I answer. We had one split by lightning, but I left it alone for years until it died. Then I had to cut it down to protect my house, but I didn't kill it. I love you guys. We love you too, whispers a tall pine, shaking a few cones loose as a gesture of affection. You are our friend, she sings. Some of the sleeping trees, cued by snow to know this is their silent time, wake and sing as a chorus to accompany the pine. We all love you, they sing in exquisite four-part harmony. You are our friend, our hero, our protector, and our lover. It's overwhelming. I have to retreat inside my house, built long ago from the corpses of many trees, and sit quiet for a very long time. Eventually, I realize that while age may have deprived me of friends, family, lovers, mobility, ambition, confidence, I still have the affection of the trees, who will outlive me by generations, remember me, sing songs of my life. Thank you. Let Evening Come, title from Jane Kenyon. I remember big events, a first kiss, a death, travel illuminated by love. Picking up the newspaper clothed in blue plastic is quickly forgotten. No need to store each instance in the filing cabinet. I have already lived most of this life. Today, I sit in fall comfort and remember the sight of bats, outlines against the dim sky, holding someone's hand, sipping wine. No point in retaining more. Who could carry the weight of so many vivid years? When the time comes to release everything I've stored, I'll stop clogging the neural pathways of the world. Meanwhile, I am still awake enough to sip wine in new company. Used. How to deal with the obvious fact that I am almost used up. Many people in those pages of the newspaper were younger than I am now. Nobody has ever lived as long as I have, and then that long again. Sometimes I feel like a steamed string bean almost ready to eat. And who will eat me? The earth from which I came? Come join me in this last spasm of life, frolicking like children despite all we know. Thank you, and this is the last of the recent ones. It's called Shopping at the Mall. Let's go out with our friends and neighbors shopping at the shuttered mall. The merchandise is long gone, but the experience remains, even though we had to break down the doors to get in. The security guards have offered no resistance, being merely cardboard cutouts. The food court has no food, but plenty of seats. I suppose it would be dark in here if not for those lovely skylights. Someone has brought a deck of cards. Does anyone remember how to play canasta? Someone had the bright idea to call for pizza and pitchers of soda. Now we're having a real party. I brought a battery-operated boombox and a pile of Latin CDs. Suddenly, my next-door neighbor asks me if I want to dance. That's not all I want to do, but dancing is so much fun we may go on doing it until the lights fade or the batteries give out. So now I'm going to read books from this poem, Losing Tara, An Alzheimer's Journey. It's entirely a collection of poems. Stranded. In a sweaty hospital bed, you cannot feel the breeze that mitigates this warm July night, or see the Big Dipper sparkling its lonely glory through the hazy sky. Addled by Haldol and her evil sisters, you can hardly tell where you are, where this pain comes from, why your legs don't work right, why you can't just get up and go home. The worst deprivation is missing the way the dogs sniff the familiar roadside earth, searching for new experiences and finding them. Will they ever return? There will soon be other nights free from pain to savor your humdrum existence, back home, smile, and settle down for a quiet night of companionable sleep. Erosion. You told me once soaking the porcelain lining of your antique bathtub would damage it. After every bath, you would wipe it carefully with your towel, a task now left to me, the one who remembers things. Strange to think that water hurts something made to contain it, the way I, made to contain your love, am now eroding. Becoming old. Today I am 69. I remember the day my father was 90. Is this how it feels to be old, he asked. I don't feel old. I do feel old. I have already seen 2 children wither and die. I have talked with their mother, who had been my wife, as she was dying. I have seen my parents die, each wanting to. I have seen my beautiful wife turn old and have her brain stolen and still breathe, filled with anger at her losses, and tell me she doesn't want me, then a little later that she loves me, and I have known that both were true. I can see no purpose to this life which drags on without a clear purpose. It's not that I want to die, not yet, but I'd like to know there was some compelling reason for staying alive. Sometimes at night I can see it in the stars. Sometimes just when my dogs come running at my call. Sometimes when I hear Schubert cry. Last night I dreamed my wife and I had arrived at the airport for a flight to Europe. We met my first wife's sister carrying her suitcase. I realized I had forgotten our baggage and our passports. We could not go. My wife started to cry. I'm having a hard time, she said. I woke up and she was crying and saying, I'm having a hard time. I held her hand, promised I would take care of her, and we both went back to sleep. I dreamed I saw a linden tree, its leaves bright and shining, and suddenly the leaves turned brown and fell all at once. A poem of thanks. Today, when seeing your hair disheveled by neglect recalls seeing it disheveled by passion, remembering endless drives to doctors, offices that held such hope, when I remember you getting better for a little while before plunging off the dock into brain-freezing water, when I'm again startled by that photo I put up on the wall of you in your glory, so intense it makes my eyes water, but even that doesn't make me take it down. Today, knowing that I must prevent the food scattered on the kitchen floor, the TV remote in the garbage, the nightshirt over the coat, even now I want to bow before you, hold your hand to my heart, and thank you for thrilling me for so long with such generosity that your loss leaves me trying to breathe with only one lung and my throat obstructed by the growth of something dangerous. Missing. Someone put handfuls of dog kibble on the kitchen floor while you weren't watching. It wasn't her, she'll insist. Someone dropped a whole roll of toilet paper into the toilet twice this week. By now you don't even miss seeing her at the computer writing until midnight. You don't remember her smile when you came home. Or if you do, it's like something that happened before you were born, dimly recalled from that previous life. You don't miss her bringing you another glass of champagne and saying, not yet, wait until the dogs have gone to sleep. You don't miss her driving for hours, smiling the whole time, knowing the seashore is at the end of the road. But it bothers you when she refuses to take off her gloves indoors, puts one coat on over another, doesn't notice the piss in her diapers, the way she fumbles trying to leash the dogs, to unlock the door, to put on her shoes. It's okay, you tell her. We're old, we all need help. She falls asleep quickly and lies snoring like an idling truck. You keep earplugs beside the bed. Making love in the afterlife. I can remember the naked woman wanting to be in my arms, but it's a faint memory like the night the Brooklyn Dodgers won the series. Going over the edge of a waterfall in a barrel, touches powered by someone else's excitement. Is losing everything the true outline of life? Today, I was removing a diaper, washing sheets in hot water. What will happen tomorrow? Forgetting my own name? Will I forget to write as she did? Lose my dogs, my friends? As for that naked woman, she is a myth, a distant vision halfway to the moon. Guilt. Whenever she does something better than usual, like picking up all the grapes in a bowl, I am reminded of what once lived inside this husk. It was not my fault that she came to this dark place. All the best doctors could do was document her decline. I did not want to see glaring color pictures of the areas where her brain had been killed. I wanted something useful to do. Now I do something useful every day. Change her diapers, help her dress and eat, mix her protein shakes, make tea, read poems to her, kiss her good morning and good night, and shoulder aside the guilt that I could not save her. Container. This opens with a quote from Tracy K. Smith. I used to think my body was a container for love. I used to think my body would always share love with another body. I used to think love continued no matter what else happened. Events and disappointments should have taught me otherwise long before now. But it took me this long to realize that as her body emptied, so did mine. Her, currently. This is my last poem in the book. Once I delighted in awakening to the light first. I would lie quiet and watch it creeping through the window, reflecting off her cheek. I would wait for signs of life, knowing that love would enter her eyes as they met mine. It was a time of joy, and it was long ago. Today, as I enter the room where she lies quiet, most mornings she opens her eyes as I arrive, but they remain hazy. Her lips still answer mine when I kiss her. She listens as I recite the morning prayers she once chose for us to say together. Around us, may it be beautiful. She needs stronger hands than mine to help her rise, to help her walk her few steps, to clean and dress and feed her. Words have left her gaping in their wake. Some days there seems to be nothing behind those vacant eyes. Even as she waits for someone to bring the teacup to her lips, her eyes stay on me as I read poems to her. When I do sit next to her and hold her hand, she squeezes in sporadic patterns. She always looks at me as I leave the room. We have to guess so much. She seems encased in clay. But when I lower the head of her hospital bed, kiss her, and turn to leave the room, her eyes close quietly even before I turn out the light. And I'm going to conclude, thank you, I'm going to conclude with two small poems which are part of a bunch that she dictated when we went to a poetry writing class after she was no longer able to put words down on paper, but her brain was still working somewhat, and she dictated these. So here are two of those. My secret. I wish that I could write again as the way I did in olden days. Whoever changed me into my life has changed me into a sad person who can't remember how she wrote, which never caused her any trouble. They were little challenges. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I have a dream in which I imagine those images coming back to me. When I look up, I find what I dreamed is gone, and I pray for its return. And this last one. I have lived in this place for many long years, but now it seems very strange to me. The house has changed since the olden days. Perhaps I do not want to live here anymore. I never saw it in this way. I am tired of this place. If I can go far enough away, maybe I will like it better when I return. Words of the late Tara McCarthy. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. One of the things I've always found amazing is the way some people can just put into words the maybe the more illuminating, but sometimes the darker parts of their life. I know I experienced something along the lines like Leslie was describing, and other people have described, but I've never been able to quite go back there and talk about it. And I really want, I'm just really amazed at people who can. So thank you for that, Leslie. Before I bring up our next featured reader, I want to remind you that we will be here on March 11th, Thursday, March 11th, and our featured readers, it's going to be a Woodstock Invasion, Andy Clausen, Pamela Twining, and the kind of slippery here he is and here he isn't, Mr. Michael Platsky is going to be here with us on March 11th. That's at 7 o'clock. So put that on your calendars. Our next Zoom event for CAPS will be next Thursday, the 18th. That's at 7 p.m. You can register at www.callingallpoets.net, and you will get a Zoom event for the Be the Feature. That's where it's just an open mic and everybody has some fun. And our features for first Friday in March, whose date I forget, I believe it's March 5th, is going to be Larry Carr and the wonderful Mr. George Wallace, who is always, both are always a kick to feature. And again, on March 11th, we will be here with Andy Clausen, Pamela Twining, and Michael Platsky. I also want to bring attention to what Dave does here at Green Kill is live streams musicians, live streams artists, live streams poetry, talking events, interviews, all kinds of things like that. Just contact him. This is how we're going to keep the connection between us alive until we all get, I don't know, free or whatever the case might be. The new gallery features a wonderful poet and a longtime supporter of Calling All Poets, Mr. Will Nixon, who will be reading for us in May. He'll be live streaming in May. So now that that's all said, James Seamus Casey is a first-generation Irish-American from Staten Island. His father, John Francis Casey, was a hereditary Saanachie and official poet of the Old Irish World newspaper. James has an M.A. from Hunter College and has performed mostly on the 74th longitude from New York City to Albany for over 50 years. He was the winner of the last day of the Poet Challenge in 1995 at SUNY Ulster, which is pretty much right down the road. He's published sporadically using the excuse that in his lineage, speaking out loud to listeners amplifies its meaning and is more transcendent than the printed word. Some of us might want to argue with him. Some of us might not want to. But it's always a matter of course. And we've got him out of hiding because it's kind of tough to get in contact with this guy. As always, my buddy, Seamus Casey.
Where am I looking at?
Just look straight ahead. Just look straight ahead.
Straight ahead, gotcha. I guess you don't need a mask, right? Anybody out there listening can't? Okay. All right. next to me. All right. She was trailing streams of sorries in the evening when we met on the island in the torrent where the rapids by us went, beneath the waterfalls where the purple flowers crept. Who's this man whose laughter swallows up my sadness, whose eyes reach out like skies into my earth? To all who knew her, she was the goddess of delight. It was forbidden for her to be happy. It was against the law. It was forbidden for her to feel. So before him stood a golden one, a messenger of Allah. What vision this before me, transforming doubt and pain. The night became a fog, became a mist, and then a flashing whirl. The residents of ancient love between them swirled. Wild, mad streams lost in the gravity, wild breaths of silk and cavity. Send to my children, be in thy feet, become your heart, stand in your ground, opine your mind. Be who you are, know who you are. Listen to me, I am the wind of your soul, solace of the place within your heart, within which lies the door to God essence. Okay. The next one is a poem I wrote a few years back called I Am a Celt. Actually, DNA shows I'm not a Celt. I'm before them. Anyway, it's a state of mind anyway. I am a Celt. I bear no creature harm. I roar with delight in the pleasure of the earth. I believe earth is a dreamland, and we are the dreamers. And my duty is to dream well. If your dream crashes into mine, there may be difficulty. My duty is to maintain my dream. If our dreams are compatible, we may create a great dream together, weaving a garment of unimaginable splendor. The Druids say that if 3 dreams of sacred delight blend, brilliant power will ensue. But this is rare upon earth, as few spiders weave together to form their magic nets. The poets must keep the people's dream through the long dark days and deep into the terror of the beast. The dragon cries in the long pain, its labor lasting 25,000 moons before we birth it in the joy. But the day will come when the dreamers will unify the 4 parts of space and the 9 corners of time. When people awake within their dream, then this world will surpass the greatest paradises of all the other worlds. That's from 95. Okay, thank you. Let's see what's up next. I might as well do this in order. That way it'll be easy. I won't be tripping over the arrows and keyboard. The Lotus Eaters. In the shallow marsh, I'm going to move this a little closer so I don't have to be giving you my profile as much. Okay. In the shallow marsh where the reeds grow tall, I've floated in a hollow log, in languid lays midst dragonflies who weave the light. A red-winged blackbird on his bamboo perch in summer hush, a gold-leaf toad in jadeite pose sat fat among the rushes. My body brown, I drifted down to see the lotus dream. With lyre and flute and ginseng root, I blessed the crocodile, till maidens came and I rose up in pleasure to the sky. There's an Irish form of poetry, usually it's epic, very long, called ashling, which is a dream vision. And a lot of these are kind of dream visions, so you might see that it's not so the late stuff. All right. Nah, we don't do that one. So, doing a electronic reading. Wish I had my bar on. There we go. Rapidio, rapidamente. All right, here's a good one. the oscillate stream. From the rampart wall, my flute played out among the waves in the dance of the flickering stars. An oscillate sleek lay at my feet, sandaled in ribbons of gold, and the threads in my robe were as myriad as the stars. Dance to me, aeons, dance to me, sweet, dance to me as you are, for I am the hunter, the one you seek. I am as who you are. Over the ocean, tiny white sails dance to the joy of my flute, for I am the ocean, and I am the ship, and I am as who you are. Okay? And no, I wasn't smoking when I wrote these. Trance, or anything else. Sitting in the cool evening dust on a desert plain, 'neath a naked sky so blue. The air so fresh and crystal, I see a single star, intangible fire, stark. Remote, it dominates the ultraviolet, so close to open up my inner eye. Intense and raving, beauty overwhelming. Every mote so clear, so singular, precise. The union of silence, a silver moment worth 1,000 deaths. Now there the crescent moon, I hear the coyote howl. Now there I see my breath and sigh. Thank you. No, I won't do that one. It's probably politically incorrect or whatever. The rain. Satrap mama storm, bowling thunder, babbling woman wonder, damp green thinkings, sinking mist of song. Ah, there goes. That's okay. You know, I left my water in there. And some of these is dry heat. All right, start again. Satrap mama storm, bowling thunder, babbling woman wonder, damp green thinkings, sinking mist of song. Steaming wash of magic, pearl white sky. Why do you come in slices, strings of crystals playing on the leaves? Snake slipping down surfaces, frog gleams rippling, frozen motion passing in a pyre of pine and heady passion. A finger on the lips of stillness as the red sun floats upon horizons, newly cast with long tomorrows, stretching trees that sag in joy, open to receive the sky. Memories meander in a million days, and hours shoot around the stars. Seconds burst on passive pawns, aware of secret wishes buried in the sand. What mole inside his hole will cease to wonder, measuring the space between his claws, listening to dark and distant thunder, beating tears upon the ground? How warm the earth, how wet the mud, how juicy are the roots, the tasty worms, the tender shoots, how strong the stone. And always comes the whistling psalm, the drips that patter in the calm, wild whirrings, trembled buzzings, spinning webs of rainbow specks, the subtle blend of yellow in the deep. A golden beetle crawls upon the screen, as in a dream where shadows dissipate in light, his wings vibrating to a microcosmic tune, to fill this room with all forever. Next one, I'm going to have some Ushka, not Ushka Baha, Ushka. Ah, it's good. Homemade brew. Wild wind, the night wind. Wild wind, the night wind, soft, mighty breeze passes out the window and sings with the trees. Here in the house warm lay you and I. Open the doors up and let in the sky. Dark as a ruby in a cavern, distant, deep, that only needs of love a thought to glow its reddish weep. Constellations bursting in your eyes, my heart is all aglow. I touch your tender lips and drink within your flow. Almighty dreams are scented in your astral smile. A pity that this night will pass as daylight weaves its rigid guile. Wild wind, the dark wind, terrifying night, I will kiss your fearful breath, and not of death, but love alight. I will open up the windows and the doors I fling, so you may enter in. I do not fear the message that you bring. For in my house I've laid a trap of love, that every atom that moves within will burn its chafe amidst my heart, and it will rush out singing, if in crying it came in. But if the pain is buried far too deep, a mystery even unto the wind, and you refuse to peer into your heart, I give you all the blessing that I have. So wild wind, the night wind, soft mighty breeze, pass through my window and sing in the trees. Wind of the children, ocean of snow, wind of the summer, who whispers, I know. Wild wind from uncharted space, roaring on an ending flight, let me touch your being so we may bless the night. Thank you. I should look up my list. All right. Yeah, these are a bunch of short ones. These are earlies. Jazz, which comes from the Gaelic word for being in heat. Anyway, jazz. Suck me like a serpent and spread me out upon the blanket of my love. Send me through the humid spaces, toss me on the seas, blend my soul with inner graces. Let me be the juice of God. A leap of faith. Pearly fogs of effusive light, mists thicker than centuries, cliffs above the abyss, depths of eternity. Over these, the young sphinx leaped like a gazelle. Pauses are important, a lot of things in that. Okay. This is called That City Night. And I'm going to probably speak in my native dialogue here. That city night long ago, I pulled my collar up, leaning in a vacant doorway, escaping the bitter wind. Darkened buildings, gloomy from the yellow corner light. I just read at St. Mark's with the cool poets. My stuff a mixture, mad politics, mystical murmurings. You didn't show, so I made up a name, like S.I. or Staten Island or Borough Boy. I was down deep in a dark funk, soul etched in troubles, the growing pains of youth. I stared up at your loft window, a faint ghostly light, the only light on the cobblestoned old block. I had seen you go up there with him, a well-known artist, kissing, laughing. I felt poor, stupid, broke. I shivered, reaching for the half pint of Irish, sharp, bitter, sweet. I threw it down my throat, quick, a leap into the void's chasm. It burned all the way down. Stupid to come over here to see a glimpse of you. So I turned east, walking 20 blocks into the wind. Majestic sadness flapping out behind me like a cloak. The whiskey'd help me sleep, and tomorrow you'd be gone. Just a headache lingering, and the faint and disappearing wisps of your perfume that'd someday surface in a poem. Thank you. Smell that perfume still. I got 8 planets in Scorpio. I don't never forget that stuff. This is called The Lost Boreen. And in '89, I was in Ireland, and I was taken up by my cousins to the place where my father's family, their Casey clan, lived, in a place called Bucca or Bullisella. They liked Bucca better because Bullisella could have a pejorative meaning. Anyway, by the edge of the Lost Boreen, that's a little road, they call that in Ireland. By the edge of the Lost Boreen, where the wild fuchsia arced tunnel-like over the curve in the little road, I sat upon the stone row. The heavy, sweet smell of August pushed my feet down into the turf, wet from the soft shower that had just danced by. The sun gleamed in a million drops, spread out among the wild flowers in the ruins of my father's house and the tombs where millenniums of poets lay in still abandon, their lyrical bones long ago the roots of the earth and the food for worms. I cried, I laughed, consumed by the heady passion of my ancestors, their very atoms now filling the void of gentle wind that flooded my heart with the echoes of abandoned hope and fervent dreams. In the damp, distant hills of misty green, the smoke of a turf fire curled up into the vast sky. That's curled up like a dragon's kite into the vast sky. Anyway, that's on a CD. I was in a group called Ashling. That was appropriate. Early part of the century. It was a dream. So these are a bunch of Ashlings. How much, I was going to bring my phone with the timer and... A couple more, okay. All right. Sorry for the pauses of silence. This is silence. Start hearing Paul Simon in my head. All right. I guess I'm not going to find that one. Here's one I did along the way. Anyway, this was at a poetry reading called Day of the Poet back in the 90s. And it was kind of this, let's see, do I have both pages? I think I'm missing something on that. Anyway. This is something I told somebody I'd read it, so anybody under the age of consent, you can go to the bathroom and whatnot. The mad heat of my heart. Okay. And the first time I did this, it was at the Day of the Poet, and they had this lectern, music lectern off to the side. And I was doing this poem, and I was really just moving, gesturing the whole thing, and I smacked the lectern on the side of my hand, and it started bleeding, and I didn't know. And I'm shaking my hands, blood over everybody. And if I get on to the poem, you'll see how appropriate that is. The mad heat of my heart. In the heat of my heart, I will hold you, out past the tips of my fingers, beyond the length of my arms. Outstretched, you flash into mist, fairy queen, returning to the other world. You toy with my soul, shining huntress, as you hold my heart up to the sun, the blood of my life stream slipping like raindrops in the wind of your power. I will be hard. I will be ruthless. I will be the stone thrusting up through the earth, and I will burst into the brilliant sky. I will heap great logs of deciduous hardwood high upon the mountain, and all will see the fire of my love. I will plunge deep into the valley to open your sacred well, where sweet waters will flow upon the flowers and grass. Come with me into the expansive presence, Ach Magra. I will put your feet firmly on the ground, and your mind will rush into the dizzying heights. I will be steadfast like the dolmen. I will be true like the scorpion's tail. I will be delightful as the laughing bear. I will cast out the doubt of your fear. I will be the eye of the mad swallow. I will pierce to the quick with my tongue. I will burn incense before you. I will tell you crazy things, and I will amuse the smile within, and I will feel overwhelming sadness, and I will blanket you in deep emotion. And I will be the height of intensity, and I will make you feel every part of your body. I will pay homage to your temple, and I will enter the perfumed garden, and I will fill your place with my space, and I will trace the line of your cheek, and I will feel the fullness of your breast, and I will kiss your soft and tender lip, and I will hold you in my warmth. And then, if you so desire, I will cast open my door. I will set you free. Does that count for two?
No, a couple more.
Oh, okay.
You don't come out of hiding too often.
All right, okay. Oh, here's a good one. All right. You want to hear one about a dentist who's my wife's cousin's husband? Really cool guy. It's called A Funny Bone for Bernie. Bernie Shaneholtz, really good guy. Dr. Bernie, pass the gurney, pass the porter, please. Dr. Bernard, in the front yard, teeth are growing, see? Dr. Shaneholtz, it's a game, folks. Can you see, Tappan Z? Molars to the right of him, cuspids to the left. Into the mouth of the mad patient rode Dr. Bernie. Past the crepuscular bicuspid, beyond the nicotine stains. Tap, tap, tapping lightly on the sinus wall. There, nurse, aha! Pass me my dental pick, or pick me my dental purse, or pack me my mental dick. Oh, quick, nurse! The grand mucus conflagrator, you know, the two-tone stainless steel, quantum-edged, power-pumped, monkey ward plaque whacker. Confound it! Egads! Curse of the craven cavity! It can't be, but it is, a knuckle napper. I haven't seen one of those since pre-med days in the Rue Morgue. It appears, it apples, it avocados to be an impounded finger bone from a concert pianist playing Bach, the whole fugue, Opus 1. I didn't take music appreciation for nothing by Zarathustra. Gadzooks, Joan, why am I bringing Iranian deities into this? This gentle poem, this dental poem, this gentle floss, this Gentile poet, he knuckle-headed it, not wrote it. He smacked it, he smote it, he man in white coated it. The deep-throated doggerel, this salivating sonnet, this suffering succotash, this rinse and spit. Dr. Bernie, pass the gurney, pass the porter, please. Dr. Bernard, in the front yard, teeth are growing, see? Dr. Shaneholtz, it's a game, folks. Can you tap and see? And while I'm on the subject, Bernie's not a Yankee hater who bores you with picayune details about how the Mets are doing while he's enameling you. And he could tell you the exact page, price, and benefit for all mankind of the most latest and the most highest tech gadgets, and subscribes to rare and hard-to-find esoteric catalogs on whatchamacallits not even invented yet, that even upper-crust periodontists are unable to afford, by gum. The purpose of this poem, as you have by now, by a purpose of this poem, as you have by now perceived, is not to praise Bernie, not to enumerate his prodigious achievements as husband, father, and all-around human beings. It is not to wax poetic about the generosity of his spirit, the patience of his sincerity, or the honesty of his smile, but simply it is to hit him with a pi R squarely in the face. In dental school, as you all know, Bernie worked assiduously, drilling all his subjects hard, deep into the night. Jawboning with the predominant purveyors of prestidigitry, taking time out only to catch reruns of Mr. Ed and Lost in Space. In between filling up his room with sculptures and mobiles, and in his sparest times building a scale model of UNIVAC. Yes, boys and girls, the man we are honoring tonight stands for everything that is un-American at this time. Creative, artistic endeavors, and quality workmanship. What is he trying to do? Embarrass us? Hey, Dr. Bernie, I hope he's still out there. Or I know he's out there, but still on the planet. I'm not sure. My sons are watching this. They'll sure to text me. Want me to do another one? All right. All right. All right. Kind of hear doo-wop in the background. Zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom. That's an appropriate song. Midland Beach Reverie. I sit in a lunchtime car, leaning back and listening to music from my youth, my body in a state of grand discomfort, twisting for a painless position against the wooden beads. The window's open and the sunny breeze floats in like a time machine. I close my eyes and find myself lithe and warm on the Midland Beach sand. It was 1963 or 1964 and summertime. I held a cold beer can and tasted the tinny foam as my head buzzed softly. The smells of sea and suntan oil, my other hand caressing lotion thighs that oh so slightly trembled neath the touch. Wet trunks of tight and ardent spandex. My toes stretched down into the hot grains, piercing into the dark, moistened sand. Our lips locked in wordless breath, and the gulls cried, and the breeze, and the rolling waves crashing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Zoom,
Seamus
zoom,
Casey.
zoom, zoom. Who did that?
You and I. You and I did it just now.
Ah, okay.
All right.
All right.
Seamus Casey, I want to thank all our readers tonight. Bruce Weber, Seamus, and Leslie Gerber. We are here every second Thursday. We will return. Caps will return on March 11th. That's a Thursday at 7 p.m. with the Woodstock invasion of Andy Clausen, Michael Platsky, and Pamela Twining. I want to thank everyone out there for watching, for donating.
Thank the camera.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Greenkill Gallery. And we shall see you next month. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike.